All right, today I'm here at the Rosston boat ramp parking lot. This was the traditional kind of southern terminus of the Armstrong Trail, and this is looking up the trail heading north. But today I'm here primarily to explore this kind of new extension to the south. So just over the winter they added about another 10 miles, and I've been out this way in about 2 years, so I figure beautiful day, might as well check it out. So here we go. So this is the lay of the land of the trail thus far. So you can see very wide trail. You can tell it's brand new packed crushed limestone. It's, despite being fairly new, it's riding extremely smooth and not, sometimes you get like that almost kind of like beach feel when you're riding on new limestone, where you kind of sink down. I'm not getting that feeling whatsoever. Now we've had a very dry week here, but rideability, I'm easily pedaling 14 miles an hour on my hybrid without really much in the way of effort. And then off to the one side you kind of have hillsides, and in some places you have a little bit of shade and kind of tree cover, and then on the other side you're running parallel to the Allegheny River. And that's the beauty of the Armstrong Trail, is that pretty much for the entirety of the trail you are running right next to the Allegheny River with just absolutely beautiful river views. So from a scenery perspective, this trail definitely got it in spades. So again, you can tell brand new, just immaculate. My only complaint thus far at all is there's a few places where you can see that the water kind of washes off the hillside, and so you'll get these kind of erosion channels. So I've came across two of them, and both of them I couldn't see that they were there until literally I was right on top of it. And that's one of those things where if you're on a road bike and you're flying, you hit one of those and you could easily end up on the ground or with a pop tire or some kind of other mechanical issue. So just be aware, even though it's fast moving and flat, there are a few of those challenges. About 4 miles south of where I started at Rosston, and you got this beautiful big dam spillway locks on the Allegheny River, and there's obviously some kind of gravel road that comes down here and connects, and there's a small little lot where you got a few people that are parked, and down below I can see there's people fishing at the base of the dam or sightseeing. So you can get down here somehow if you're looking for another parking spot. One other thing I wanted to point out, and you might be able to see it far off in the distance there, is they got these little road crossing metal barriers, and on this trail section in particular they are narrow. I always hate narrow ones like that because I always feel like I'm going to get clipped and fall off my bike. So just so you know, if you're like me and you hate them, they are here and they are very narrow in this section of the trail. So I'm around mile 7 south of Rosston, and the trail kind of moves away from the river a little bit, and then you have some beautiful homes down below, but also kind of a scattering of campers and trailers, and back about a half mile that direction, it looked like it was maybe some kind of campground, because you just had like camper after camper after camper after trailer after kind of rundown cabin. So I'm assuming it's like kind of leased properties with river access. But places where you do have the openings where you can see the river, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm at about 7.5 miles south of Rosston, and the surface has changed somewhat, and not for the better. It's probably really hard to see, but it went from being a true crushed limestone to kind of being these small pebbles everywhere. And so it's not near as nice riding, much harder to kind of get good grip. So I don't know why the change, but this definitely represents a worse stretch of trail through here. I'm a few minutes north here, or I'm just north of southern terminus. You can see the new bridge down there that they just installed. We'll get to there in a second. But this is the intersection of Aladdin Road and Old Schenley Road. And then you're right across the street from the post office. And you have this really big parking lot here. Might be hard to see in Google Maps. It's probably unlabeled in Google Maps, but you probably have about 25 spots or so, and a lot of them are taken today. Even though I really haven't seen many people out on the trail. And then there's an old train car right down there. And then a little bit past this is this very kind of post-apocalyptic vibe where you have all these kind of old abandoned buildings, and while there's signs that speak to the fact that there's some active businesses there, again, I'll try to snap a picture on the way back, but really weird place. But other than Rosston, this is the first real parking access that I've seen. Heading across the brand new bridge. So they just finished this up in February 2024. It's beautiful. I'll stop here for a second. So this is the juncture point of the Allegheny River down there. And then I forget what river this is that flows into it. But very pretty spot. And again, brand new. And so I'm at the end of the bridge, and the trail abruptly stops. So this stinks because literally there's another trail like right there called the Treadway Trail that picks up. But I guess I read that the issue is that there's an active train line down there as well, and that obviously you can't be having people crossing an active train line. So I didn't realize that the stop would be this abrupt, so there is no parking on the other side of the bridge. That parking lot I just showed you is it. All right, so I'm back home, and I'm going to do my typical review here. Now this review, of course, is kind of imperfect because usually I would review an entire trail, but the Armstrong Trail is a little bit too long for me to do an out and back to my car by myself. So I'm just going to review the southern 10 miles that I did from Rosston down to Schenley at the crossing of the Kiski River, and then back. So altogether I did a 20-mile ride. I ended up actually doing a little bit more than that to round it up to 30. But I at least want to review this segment. So from a scenery perspective, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I mean, anytime that you're riding along a river the entire time, especially one as beautiful as the Allegheny, it's going to be top-notch scenery, and then some cool, kind of old dilapidated buildings that just kind of had a neat vibe to it. Surface, as I kind of remarked, it was kind of a tale of two trails almost. I'd say the first 6.5 miles or so from Rosston south were pretty solid for the most part, crushed limestone. And then you got to this like softer gravel stuff, which just felt like you were riding on a beach. Not a good surface at all at the end. Safety, I gave it a 3 out of 5. For the most part, it's flat, it's safe, you're a ways from road, but there was those kind of unannounced erosion channels. And the one I hit pretty hard, and it almost set me off my bike, and they're not spray painted or marked at all. So be aware of those on the new section. Food and drink, 0 out of 5. There's no food and drink at either end that or anywhere along this 10 miles. There's some options up in Ford City, but that's probably a solid 3 or 4 miles farther to the north from Rosston. Parking, 5 out of 5. Both parking lots huge, lots of room, no problems there, well marked. Facilities, I gave it a 1 out of 5. A few benches here and there, but no water, no bathrooms in this segment. Wildlife, 1 out of 5. I saw a few birds, and that was it. Fun, I gave it a 2 out of 5. Even though the scenery was nice, it was kind of just a boring, flat 10 miles. So it wasn't overly thrilling. And then altogether, I gave it a 26 out of 50 score. So, I was glad I checked it out. Would I be racing back? Definitely not. In the future, though, I will attempt to make a different video about some of the more northern sections of the Armstrong Trail. As I mentioned, I've done those sections before, all the way up to East Brady and back, and those are a lot of fun. So I'll make sure I definitely do some videos in the future on those sections as well.